Good afternoon. My name is Strat Maluma. I'm a senior program specialist with AARP. I'm also the AARP lead for the California Fraud Watch Network. I'd like to welcome everyone who's joining us live today. Did you know that May 15th is designated National Senior Fraud Awareness Day? And that's really a day to raise awareness about the barrage of fraud attempts that older adults face every day. And it's also a day to encourage the implementation of policies to prevent these types of frauds and scams happening and to improve protections for older adults. Today, we're here with a special guest, Jacob Mcginty, who serves as a supervisory special agent at the FBI, to talk about protecting older adults from common and emerging types of frauds and scams, and also how we can stay protected too. I encourage you, if you can, to share this stream of this conversation on your social media page so that interested family and friends can also take part in the conversation. And also, please feel free to share your questions or your comments in our chat box. And at the end of this conversation, we'll look to answer and provide some feedback for those comments and questions. I'd like to also let you know that AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, and we work on behalf of 38 million members nationwide and 3.3 million members locally to enhance the quality of life for all people as we age. And that includes working to protect them from frauds and scams. To that end, I'm really thrilled to have Jacob Mcginty with us today. Supervisory Special Agent Mcginty is with the FBI and has been with the FBI for 12 years. He spent 8 of those years investigating healthcare fraud before moving to the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., where he also served on a team in the FBI that leads the FBI's inspection division, reviewing all types of FBI programs. He's currently the supervisor of a white collar crime squad based in San Jose, focusing on all manners of financial crimes and public corruption. Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, before we get into your presentation and our conversation today, can you give us a little bit of a taste of what we can expect to hear from you today?
Yes, there is a wide range of fraud schemes targeting our elder citizens that we see every day, and people are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars to them. They become increasingly complex as time goes on, and so I want to go over some of the most common ones that we see to help people try to avoid some of the scams that are out there.
Thank you very much. I really look forward to learning today and hearing what the FBI is seeing. So let's get into it.
Okay. So this presentation is going to be part of the Department of Justice has an Elder Justice Initiative. That's because this is such a problem that the Department of Justice recognized we need to do something targeted to protect our seniors because they've been targets of fraud like this for quite a while, and the schemes are only becoming more and more. So some quick statistics, and this is more of a 40-minute presentation. I'm going to condense it into 20, so I'm going to skip through a little bit, but real quickly, 13% of older Americans are victims of financial fraud, and you can see on there only 1 in 44 cases is reported. So this is a very widespread problem, and we only really hear about a small part of it. How does this occur? Pretty much any way that a fraudster is able to contact you, they will do so. So we see this through the mail, on the computer, on the phone, even through media, TV and radio, and in person. I want to go through each of these categories and give you some ideas of the common ones that we're seeing so that you can recognize them if somebody contacts you and try to avoid being scammed. To start out, through the mail. So probably everybody has heard of the lottery scheme where you receive a letter in the mail that tells you you've won the lottery in, overseas somewhere. And the scam is that you've won $1 million and all you have to do is pay the taxes on the money. So if you send us $5,000 to cover the taxes, we will send you your $1 million winnings. And this is a very old scheme. It goes back decades, but it has evolved over time. And I remember years and years ago, this you would get the letters and it was written in very poorly worded English. The grammar was terrible, the spelling, you could tell it was not written by an English speaker. Well, they've become much more sophisticated. There's tools available. There's, in fact, software programs where people who don't even speak English can just enter what they want it to say into the program, and it'll turn out a really professional-looking, polished document that looks really legitimate. And the scams evolved. There's newer ones like you've won a car. And again, all you have to do is pay the taxes or pay some fee, and we'll send you your car. So this is something that continues to happen. Through the mail, people receive letters like this. And so, as I'm sure everyone on this call knows, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And those things are still happening. On the computer. So this is where a lot of fraud happens. And there are people who do nothing but sit on their computers all day thinking of new ways to steal your money. And the biggest categories that I want to draw your attention to are emails and pop-up windows. So emails, for example, there's a lot of fraud involving emails, and they do different things. There's cyber terms such as phishing scams and spoofing. So there's different ways that fraudsters will target you using email. You might get an email that looks like, and again, these are very legitimate looking, very professional looking emails. You might think it's from your bank, and everything looks like your bank's letterhead. It looks like your bank's design. But then if you look in the address bar, there might be a small change. So they'll change like a digit. Instead of an O, they might make it a 0, some small change because it's not coming from your actual bank. Another thing they'll do is they can hack into your actual bank, and they can monitor the bank's emails, and then at an appropriate time send you an email. We see this a lot in title companies when people are buying homes. Sometimes hackers will hack into a title company's email account, and they'll just monitor the account over a period of time. And then at the opportune moment when someone's about to purchase a home and they're about to wire $100,000, they will send an email that is from the legitimate email address of the title company telling you, oh, we've had a change of account. We need you, instead of wiring the money to the account you had on record, please send it to this new account. And they will redirect you that way. So the theme, what I want to point out to everyone is, don't believe any email you get. If you get an email from your bank, from any source, you should not click on anything in that email, and you should not take any direction from that email. You should go to the source. If you get an email from your bank that's telling you to do something with your accounts, don't respond to the email itself. Go to your bank. Call your bank using the number that you have for them, or go on the internet and go to the website that you have that you know is the correct one for them, and verify. Talk to someone through there and say, hey, did you send me this email? Is this legitimate? And that goes for pretty much everything. The other example here is pop-up windows. Pop-up windows are tons of things come from pop-up windows. So these are the windows when you're just perusing the internet and something pops up on your screen. And we have tons of examples of pop-up windows. They basically, it's a trick, and it puts a virus on your computer, or it tells you have a virus on your computer when you really don't. And it sort of tricks you into following a series of instructions. So let me tell you about one real quick that we have had very recently, where a pop-up window comes up onto a person's computer. They click on it, and the window, it looks legitimate, it's well done, it's colorful. It says, this is the Microsoft cyber response team. Your computer has been hacked. It's been compromised. You need to call us right away so we can help safeguard your information, or hackers are going to, steal your identity and empty your bank accounts. And so you get this pop-up window on your computer. It looks legitimate. It says Microsoft. It says this is the Microsoft cyber response team. So you call that number. And another thing about the scammers is they are very patient. So they have learned that good things come to those who wait. So they will invest days with you talking about your computer, talking in terms that most of us don't have the technical savvy to understand and to follow what they're saying. But they'll say, oh, yes, your computer's infected. We need to run diagnostics on it. We need to do a lot of things. Please, they'll get you to turn control of your computer over to them, share your screen with them so that they can take control. And through this process, they patiently build trust with you. They build a relationship with you, so you think they are there to help you because this window popped up. It says it's from Microsoft. You've called Microsoft, and they build trust by removing all of these viruses from your computer. And then 3 days later, They'll tell you, well, your bank accounts have all been compromised too. So what we need to do is turn you over to this other person we know who works at Wells Fargo or whatever your bank may be, and he will help you safeguard your bank accounts as well. And since the first person helped you so much on your computer, ridding your computer of all these viruses, then you call this other person at Wells Fargo and they proceed to tell you that your account has been, compromised, and we need to do a lot of things, and we need to transfer your money into a secure account while we get to the bottom of this and we figure out who's doing this. And then at their direction, you transfer all of your money into an account and it goes overseas somewhere and we never see it again. That is a real example that we see every day, very common things, because they have the patience, they have the sophistication to make these things look real. So if nothing else on your computer, watch out for emails. Don't click on anything in an email, and watch out for pop-ups. If a pop-up comes up and it tells you anything, don't call the number on the pop-up. Don't do anything that the pop-up is telling you. Take it to the source of the information. If you have to call Microsoft, but don't believe what you see on a pop-up. Real quick, I want to move on, but dating, romance scams is another big thing. Lots of people find friends online, and again, these are very patient people, and this is really what they do for a living. It's how they spend their time, is getting online, meeting people, and investing in building relationships, and then somewhere down the road, maybe even a month, maybe 2 months down the road, after you think you really know this person, they will have some excuse why they need a loan, why they need some money. We've commonly seen some where a friendship has been developed over a course of 2 months, and then at some point the friend is moving and all their accounts are locked up because they had some problem at the bank, and they just need a couple $1,000s to get through this move, and they'll pay you back in a week. It's a short-term loan. There's no risk to you, and they end up taking your money, and you never hear from them again. It's a common thing. People are sitting around, they're willing to invest the time to build these relationships with lots of people, and they get big payouts. So I warn you, please be careful of anyone you meet online. Don't trust anyone, and watch out for that. On the phone, this is common. I'm sure everybody here gets spam calls every day on their phone. I do at my work phone at the FBI. My hardline at the FBI, every day it rings, it is spam calls. And so a couple ones I want to tell you about is the Department of Treasury, the IRS. That's a very common one where the IRS will call you and they will say, your accounts have been compromised, they've been hacked, and fraud was conducted using your identity and all of your bank accounts. And if you don't cooperate with us, then you're going to be responsible for this fraud because it looks like you did this. It looks like you committed this crime and that all this money was deposited into your account. The point being, they use scare tactics. They present themselves as an authority figure, and they use scare tactics to try to trick you into doing what they say. And of course, you're a law-abiding citizen, you've never been in any trouble in your life, and it's scary when someone says you could be arrested for this. But of course, it's not really the IRS, it's really a scam, and they are trying to bully you, they're trying to scare you into cooperating with them. And what they'll generally do is say that your identity's been stolen and your accounts have been used to commit fraud, and what you need to do is transfer your accounts into a storage account, a safekeeping place, while they get to the bottom of this. Same sort of thing as the other scam. And then because you trust them, because you're scared, you don't want to get in trouble, you transfer all of your money into this account so the IRS can work this out. And of course, it's not really the IRS, and scammers just took your money. We see people losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in scams like that. They're life-saving sometimes. So what I want to tell you as an FBI agent, in my capacity as an FBI agent, I often do have to call people on the phone. I would never expect anyone to take my word on my identity that I am an FBI agent just from a cold call on the phone. In fact, when I call people on the phone, if they have any question about who I am or if I'm really with the FBI, I encourage everyone to look the FBI up on your own. Look it up online, look it up in the phone book if you have to. Call the FBI directly and tell them the information I provided, my name and the number that I provided you, and ask the FBI, who you've confirmed is the real FBI, to put you in touch with me. And they'll be able to do that. And that way you're sure that you're speaking with who they say they are. I would not expect anyone to ever trust me when I just call them. And you should not trust anyone from any agency who just calls you. I mean, trust but verify. You need to make sure they are who they say they are. If it's something really important, they will come to your house and they will show you credentials, or they will get in touch with you some other way. But the scare tactics, that is a very common thing that happens every day. Another one's the grandparents scam. Believe it or not, people fall for this. A younger person will often reach out and say that I am your long lost granddaughter and we've never met, but unfortunately but I just need a couple of $1,000. I'm in a rough spot right now. I have nowhere to go, no one to rely on, and we're good helping people. So a lot of people will give money for that. That's a common one that we see as well. Radio and TV, there's advertisements. Again, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. There's lots of scams out there, so whatever you choose to invest in, please be careful. In person, I just want to tell you about this too, because this is something that's happened, and I want to give you an example. People come to your house. People try different things. One scheme that I have seen is people will come to your house and they will tell you that they are the electric company, and they're doing some work out on the street, and they want you to come out and see the work that they're doing, because you might have service interruptions in the next day or two. And if you do, and you need to call for a service request, we want you to be able to explain what's going on the street. So let me take you out here and show you what's going on. And then the homeowner walks out to the street to see what work they're doing out there, and someone else sneaks in the house and steals all their valuables. So that stuff is still going on as well. I'm going to jump through this a little bit, but the point I want to make on this slide is that financial abuse happens everywhere. It can be anyone you know. It can be caretakers. It can be anyone. There's no profile that we can give you to say, watch out for these people. It comes from all over the place. Even family members, and that is sometimes a hard reality to consider, but oftentimes family members are trying to get money to family members can be in dire straits as well, and sometimes there is a lot of pressure from family members to try to get your money. So unfortunately, we see that a lot, and we see people getting tricked by their own family as well. Why are older adults targeted? This is kind of a no-brainer. You've worked your whole life, you've saved for your retirement, this is where the money is, and fraudsters know that. And so before the pandemic, over the last year, lots of us have been at home, but before that, they're also elderly have been at home, and they're a ripe target with the money and the availability. So that's one of the reasons, or some of the reasons, why we've seen older adults targeted. There's things that you can do to protect your financial information. There are the credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You can actually pause your credit if you're in a position where you're not going to need to use your credit, if you're not going to be getting a loan or buying a car or anything like that in the immediate future. You can call these companies and pause your credit for 6 months, and that will put things on hold and make it so that someone can't use your credit to do harm or to do fraud. Another point I want to make, I see this last bullet here, the hang up the phone. Sometimes the older generation tends to be more polite than the younger people. And I definitely would not call that a fault. I think that is a great thing. But when people call you with these things, you don't have to engage in them. And I want you to give yourself the permission to just hang up the phone. You don't have to talk to them. Just hang up, just ignore them and move on. Okay, and we have some resources that we can distribute on where to report this stuff. The FBI works these crimes. We don't have the resources to work every single thing that comes in, but we also do tracking and we have intelligence capabilities. So every report helps us in some way. We document it, we put it into our files, and we're able to make connections over things over time. So we definitely want you to report crimes to us. If it's something that we can't work, we often report or refer cases out to the locals or to our other law enforcement partners. So it always does good to report to us or to any of these agencies. And we can give you this information so that you have all of these contacts. I had a healthcare part 2, but I'm going to cut that out in the interest of time. But what I would like to, the point that I want to make out of it is that healthcare fraud is a problem as well. And because of the nature of your medical appointments and things, you can often be put in positions where people are trying to abuse your Medicare or your insurance for fraudulent purposes. It's such a problem that the FBI has a section dedicated only to healthcare fraud, where the rest of the financial crimes addresses every other scheme, and then healthcare fraud has its own section because it's that much of a problem. So review your financial documents, review your bank accounts for financial fraud, and please review your explanation of benefits forms from your health insurance to avoid healthcare scams. I am going to conclude it there, and I understand there may be some questions, so I'm happy to answer anything that anyone has.
Thank you very much, Jacob. That was a really great overview and presentation of some of the common, but also some of the emerging types of scams that are happening out there. You know, I'm sure in your work, similar to us here, scammers are always evolving and becoming more and more sophisticated and introducing new tactics. So it's always very helpful to stay ahead of the curve, knowing what new tactics they're trying to use to scam us out of our money, hard-earned money. I just want to acknowledge a couple of people. I see Frances is with us, and she has a comment that she shared on Facebook. She says, "I don't fall for this. I'm aware of questionable URLs. I call and I ask." Congratulations, good for doing that, Frances. That's a good way to stay protected and not fall victims to the scam. I also, Sophie is with us, and she says, good tips and reminders to be vigilant. So thank you for that. And how about we take a couple of questions? So I can first of all say that working from home, obviously, and just being remote has forced a lot of us to be online more often. And I have experienced this, an increase in terms of the amount of emails, phishing emails or scamming emails that I've received, as well as telephone calls. And I'm sure that's the same for a number of people, and you sort of touched on it. So here's a question that I'd like to put to you is, how has financial fraud changed in the past year as a result of COVID?
Well, the idea with scams is, as you said, they're always evolving. So with COVID, the biggest difference we have seen is that, again, like you said, there's more of it. There's more people at home now. So the net is being cast pretty much to everybody. It's not just our elders, it's everybody. But on the downside, on the other side of that is there's also people are at home. A lot of people are not at work anymore. And so it seems like bad actors have more time on their hands to come up with new and different schemes. So it's constantly evolving, and it does seem like there's more of it. Because of the nature of people being at home and having the availability to do this sort of thing.
Excellent, thank you. And I guess it's also a good reminder for us to keep our protection online on our computers updated, our malware protection and virus protection, etc. Keep those protected. And you did mention before, you know, don't click on any link or attachments that from people that you don't know. Another question is, what are you seeing at the FBI as being some of the most prevalent financial abuses affecting all adults today?
What I've seen is it's evolving. Like I was trying to get at a little bit. Like it used to be very, very poorly written things, and now they look better. It looks more legitimate. Another way that it's evolving is they sort of get onto these new nuances. And one of the latest things we've seen that I didn't have a chance to talk about was it's a scam involving Amazon, where you'll get a call out of the blue and they say it's from Amazon, and they've discovered that your account has been hijacked and it was used to buy a whole bunch of merchandise, but don't worry, it's Amazon. We caught it. We're going to take care of you. Don't worry. And through the course of this call, I won't get into all the details, but they trick you into thinking that somehow this is your fault. And that seems to be the newest thing that I'm seeing is they trick you in a very subtle way. For example, when they're processing this return, they're saying, look, $3,000 was charged to your account. Let's just put it back in, but I need you to do it because it's your account. Please type 3,000 into your phone. And then you'll type 3,000 in, and they'll say, oh, you made a mistake. You put 30,000. Now we're going to refund you 30,000. Oh, no, I'm going to lose my job. We've accidentally returned 30,000 to you. It was supposed to be 3,000, and this is your fault because you accidentally typed in the wrong number. You didn't really, and it's not really Amazon to begin with, but they try to trick you into thinking somehow it's your fault. And we're seeing variations of that in other schemes as well. So, and because of our good nature and, we don't want to cause somebody to lose their job or get in trouble, a lot of people are falling for that. So I would want to put that out there too. They're constantly evolving, becoming more sophisticated, and just coming at you in ways that you wouldn't even think about it.
That is a very good scam to be aware of and to know, because I could just imagine the amount of folks who do actually do most of their shopping on Amazon, and so it just opens up so many folks to fall for that type of scam. So thank you for sharing that. Another question is, what makes older adults, or what makes scammers believe that older adults are more vulnerable to being victims of scams or soft targets, should I say?
It's some of the things that we talked about, that they have more money. They were generally home more prior to the pandemic, so they were a target ready for exploitation to these people. And they just tend to be more trusting sometimes, the older generation. So you might not be able to trick certain people who are more tech savvy. They might not trust something that pops up on their computer, but someone who doesn't use the computer as much, who isn't as sophisticated with it, I like to compare it to going to get an oil change in your car. I don't know anything about cars, so if I take my car in for an oil change and they say we changed the oil and filter, we gave you a new air filter too, when I drive out of there, I don't know if they really did any of that or not. They might not have done anything to my car, but I still paid them, and you're pretty much taking their word on it. So sometimes older generation is not as sophisticated with computers and with the technology, and they look at ways that they can exploit it in that manner.
Great. I want to go back to those, for somebody joining us through our Facebook. Sophie, she has a question here. She says, I feel like I'm getting more scam phone calls. How can I get these calls to stop? Sounds like robocalls.
Right. I've done a lot of these talks recently for this, and that is the number one thing that I hear repeatedly. I think we are all getting those more and more. Like I said, I get them at work on my FBI phone every day. I think we have a video at the end here where you'll see everybody can fall victim to this. And unfortunately, we're all dependent on our lawmakers to change the way things are done in order to stop this. There's nothing that we can really do except use the features available to you, block the numbers. I know as soon as you block one, there's 5 more that might call you as well. But that's the best that we can do right now on that. And we need to just pressure our lawmakers, pressure our regulatory agencies to try to make changes that will affect that.
Excellent. Good points there. And the challenge really is that these days scammers can spoof their numbers to look like your neighbor's number, look like a company that you work with, their number, and the technology lets them do that. And it's sometimes really difficult to identify a single number because they're always changing their numbers. So some things that you may consider is, like, if you don't recognize the number, let it go to voicemail and listen to a voicemail. By answering the phone, I think scammers get encouraged to keep calling you in the hopes that they will target you. Well, we're quickly coming on time, so let me ask you one more question. If you have any red flags that you can share that folks should be looking out for as ways for them to know whether what they're hearing or what they're being approached with could be a scam or not.
Well, unfortunately, because the scammers are so sophisticated, they're constantly changing things. There's no real set way that you can avoid this. I just ask you to be mindful of it Again, always go to the source. Go to the trusted source where you know how to contact your bank. You know how to contact the places you do business with. And before you transfer any money or you do anything, impactful, go to the source and confirm that that is legitimate, and that's what you really want to be doing. Don't trust someone who calls you on the phone or contacts you through some other means.
Very good advice. Thank you very much. Well, before we go to the video, I just really want to say thank you to Supervisory Special Agent Jacob Mcginty. This has really been a very helpful and informative conversation, and I appreciate you sharing your time with us and your knowledge about what you're seeing, as well as the tips that you're seeing at the FBI. I also want to thank those who joined us and asked questions and shared comments as part of this conversation, and also those who have worked behind the scenes to make this conversation possible. If you are looking for resources or somebody to talk to or have questions about fraud or scams, I'd like to invite you to contact the AARP Fraud Watch Network, and you can do so at 877-908-3360, or simply visit the AARP Fraud Watch Network at aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. Special Agent, Supervisory Agent, would you care to share any phone numbers or websites that you feel our listeners might find useful before we go to our closing video?
We have some material that we can send to you after the call, so we can do that.
Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate your time, and I believe we have a little, would you like to set up this video that what we're going to see now?
Sure. This is just a short video. This is former FBI Director William Webster talking about an attempt to scam him. And I think what it shows is that any one of us can be targeted for this sort of thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.